Hello and welcome to Unwind Sessions, where right after my shift I give the highlights of my workday and answer any questions that might have been asked at a previous session. My name is Juan. I am an English Spanish medical video remote consecutive interpreter with over 4 years of experience. Today is Thursday, July 1st, 2021. I took a total of 34 sessions today. Always a mix, more video sessions than audio sessions, like every day. But there was one really long PT session, physical therapy session. It was a little bit over an hour long, and the rest of the sessions they were just like average, probably less than 30 minutes, nothing that long. And today there were three um, well, actually four highlights that I would like to talk about. Three sessions and one new term. So, for some reason today there were three video sessions that I had very soft-spoken patients. Now, of course, whenever I have a soft-speaking patient or I'm not able to hear the patient, the first thing that I do is I ask if they can move the device closer to the person that I cannot hear, and I also ask the person that I cannot hear to speak up. Now, this usually fixes the problem, and to be honest, just moving the device closer to the person that I cannot hear, for the most part, is all that needs to be done for the problem to be over. However, sometimes there are people who are very soft spoken, and it doesn't matter that they move the device closer to that person, you're still not going to be able to hear that person. Now, when that happens, the next action that I take is to actually go ahead and ask them to speak up, right? Now, if I have to ask them to speak up three times and they forget, then the next thing that I will do is that I will go ahead and I will get my headset, which I'm going to show you now. I get the headset, and whenever I cannot hear them, I tell them to speak up three times and I cannot hear them. I just stop telling them to speak up altogether because that just makes the call very, very slow. And the only thing that I have to do to get it is I just need to remember. Well, actually, it'll be like this, right? Because I'm writing notes with this hand. The only thing that I need to remember is that I need to press my headphone close to my ear. And 90% of the time, I can hear what the person is saying, even if they have not raised their voice. So that is a very good strategy to use. And I have mentioned this several times. There have been a lot of sessions like that lately, and that's why I am mentioning it. Mentioning it. And I would like to talk particularly about one of those sessions which was hard. And it was hard because, of course, the person was very soft spoken. And to make things worse, there was a very, very nasty um, feedback loop whenever I didn't mute. So, like, on top of listening to the speaker, on top of writing notes and everything else that you're doing while you're interpreting, now I had to remember that every time the person spoke, I had to press my headphone to my ear, or else I wasn't gonna hear that person. And I also had to remember that every time I had to speak, I had to press the mute button so there wouldn't be this nasty feedback loop because it would make it impossible for me to concentrate and to hear the other person. So it was a tough session. It was a tough session because, of course, I'm used to pressing the mute button more often because there is a lot of feedback loop sometimes. So yeah, that's one thing. But now imagine trying to press the mute button with this hand, and then just holding the headphone to my ear, right? So I'm like, I stop speaking, then I need to remember that I need to press mute, then I need to remember that I need to press the headphone to my ear to hear the gentleman, and all of this while taking notes and interpreting, right? Multitasking. I remember I saw that on a shirt. They call me interpreter because multitasking ninja was already taken, but damn, that session, like that, made me feel like a multitasking ninja, because I was doing so many things at the same time. And sometimes, like for the most part, all the sessions are going to be easy, but I would say about maybe about a 40% of the time, some sessions are going to be difficult, and maybe 10% of the time they're going to be horrible. Just like that one, and it's going to demand more from you than maybe you can actually give. Like honestly, I was struggling with that session because I mean, well, I'm not used to doing that, right? I mean, for the most part, people speak up. For the most part, there's no feedback loop, right? So it's just down to business. So you are going to have to keep that in mind, and you are going to have to remember that, I mean, there's going to be some sessions that are really going to be challenging, and this is just one example, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So you just gotta be prepared and do your best. Like I always tell you, I mean, there's nothing else that I can tell you, because there's gonna be some sessions that you have never experienced before. Like they are gonna be once in a lifetime thing, and you're probably not ever gonna go through those sessions ever again. And I mean, you're gonna be alone on that one, right? So it's gonna be up to you to stay on your toes, to have an agile mind, and to actually know what to do in those situations. And of course, they will always uh, work for the future as well, right? Just say that in your memo, and just remember that if that horrible session never happens again, you at least have an idea of what to do, or you can help others, right? Like I do. So yeah, those were my highlights of the day, and now I am going to talk about a new term that I heard today. I thought today was going to be a day without any new terms, but boy was I wrong. There was one term that caught me off guard, and I didn't even understand what the doctor was saying. So the word is patent patent foramen ovale, and you can see right here. And the Spanish translation for that is foramen oval persistente. All right, so what does that mean? Um, from the translation from my.clevelandclinic.org, it says that the foramen ovale is a small hole located in the septum, which is the wall between the two upper chambers of the heart, the atria. So we have two really good words right there, septum and atria. So I would suggest you write those down so you look those up if you don't know what they are, because they are important and they do come up a lot. And it says a patent foramen ovale, or PFO, means that the foramen ovale did not close properly at birth, so there is still an opening in the septum. So um, I I couldn't find this word. I couldn't find the term, and I didn't ask the provider to spell it. I just like uh, foramen ovale, patent foramen ovale just seemed too long to actually have the provider spell it. So I just went ahead and I told the provider, I am very sorry, ma'am, and but I am not familiar with the term PFO. She actually said PFO. So I said, I'm not familiar with the term PFO. And then she said, oh, it's just a patent foramen ovale. And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't understand that term. And she said, well, just say it's PFO and that it's a heart condition. So of course that's what I did. I told the lady PFO and a heart condition, and the lady knew what the doctor was talking about. So that was pretty good. And once the session was over, I actually remembered PFO and I actually looked it up and I was able to find it. But honestly, I think if I would have looked it up in Google, I think I like at that time, like you need to make split decisions, when you're interpreting. And at that moment, it didn't seem good to actually go ahead and tell the person to spell it. and she told me that it was a heart condition and that I could say PFO, and that was the end of it. I just said, all right, I'm gonna go with that, and I did. Um, and I was able to look it up, and I was able to find it. And honestly, like I think if I would have looked it up in Google, of course if she would have spelled it, I would have found it. But I don't know. I didn't try it. It just seems so much. Like at that time, it just seemed so hard and so much. Of course, spelling it would have solved the problem, but that's just the thing. I mean, you're making split decisions, right? At that moment, and my mind told me at that time that not to ask for a for spelling, and I didn't. And I still was able to solve the problem, and the lady was able to know what it was talking about. So there was success, right? But in hindsight, I should have asked her to spell it. Of course, I didn't because of, everything just happened so fast. But yeah, I don't know if the lady would have been nice enough to spell it though. You know that sometimes happens. People don't want to spell it and they just tell you what it is. So yeah, I mean, my recommendation is spell. Always has to spell. And if the person doesn't have to spell, then just tell the person to say it another way or just a different word or describe it, right? And that is going to help you. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about now is I'm going to still talk about the Rosen method because there were some things that I didn't explain on the other session, and those were the shift because I didn't understand it very well, and I still don't understand it so much. But I saw several examples, and I actually went ahead and downloaded the book as well, and I was able to understand it. I have a pretty good understanding of it. I think I know. So I'm gonna let you know what I've understood, and I am going to show you why I don't use it, and I'm going to show you how I would do it. I'm going to show you some examples, and then I'm going to show you how I actually would write the notes as opposed to the Rosen method, right? So let's get started. Right here, this is the example that the Rosen method shows, and I am not going to be able to see anything else. Ooh, bad planning, bad planning. So, okay, here we go. So this is the Rosen method, and you can't see that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the sentence reads, over the course of 1954, prices rose slightly, although not the same extent as income. Thus, the population net income in Austria increased. So, here we go. Here we have a 54, and then a comma, and then prices rising, and then slightly to show emphasis, like he tells you in his book. And then he shifts. He shifts down here because he's talking about the same subject, right? So he doesn't. For him to be able to remember that it's about the same subject and it's not something different, he shifts it, right? So he shifts it so he knows is that it's still the same thought. So on the next segment, so we have over the course of 1954, prices rose slightly, and then he's comparing here, not the same, not to the same extent as income, right? So then, since he's still talking about this, and this is like a second idea to this main idea, he writes it in a shift, like a little bit over here, and then right here on the third line we can say that it says, does the population net income in Austria increase? So he's still talking about the same thing. So, and then he has this line for it to mean income, so he doesn't write the word again, but he puts a line through it indicating that it's the same word right here. So yeah, I understand it, and I understand why he does it, and it seems pretty good. But honestly, like this seems to me like a textbook example, right? To be honest, like it took me a while to get it, and if I had to write notes like that, I think I wouldn't be able to listen to what the person is saying because I'll be busy writing notes, like I mentioned. But I mean, it makes sense, and I understand why he do it, why he does it, and I'm not saying he's wrong. And if you use it like that, then that's perfect. But me personally, I would not be able to do it. And let me show you the same example that I have here of some notes that I actually wrote. This is how I would be taking notes if I had to take the same example. And don't mind this, I actually made a mistake and I just scratched it out. And I had everything else, so if I would have to erase everything. I can't just erase a single thing on this LCD board. So don't mind that little mistake. But here we go. Over the course of 54 prices rose and slightly, right? Slight. Over the course of 54 prices rose slightly, although not the same as income. Thus, the population net, and then I have an arrow here and a circle. I always put an arrow, and if an arrow um, touches that circle, that means that it's a word and not an arrow. You see? That way I don't get confused, because if I have an arrow here and it's not, and the word's not circled, then I'm not gonna remember that that's the word again. What I will actually do is I'll probably say increasing high or something. And then right here, does the population net income in Austria increase? So here is my notes, and here is Mr. Rosen's notes. So you can see the difference there. And one thing that I do use is the vertical notes that I've been using with this LCD board. And I think tomorrow I will probably be showing you some real note taking. I'll probably do some examples from some of our practice videos that we have here on our channel. If you're new to this channel, I will post the links of some of one of our, well, actually of the playlist for all of the consecutive interpreting practice channels. That way, you can get some practice. But yeah, tomorrow I definitely will be doing some examples. And I want to show you another example from uh, one of our concept of our medical consecutive of our medical consecutive interpreting practice. I'm sorry. And that is from Medical 7 pre-operation. And the sentence at minute 6:55 reads, from this date until after the surgery, you are not allowed to take ibuprofen, aspirin, fish oil, or vitamin E. If you need anything for pain relief, you can take acetaminophen and nothing else. So, okay, I think this is the Rosen method. I think that is how Mr. Rosen would have probably done it, right? And now I'm not able to read what that is. Okay, it's a down arrow. So from this date until the end of the surgery, and just ibuprofen and everything. I didn't write take or anything. I just wrote ibuprofen, aspirin, fish oil, and vitamin E, and I just wrote a line through them, right, to indicate that they're not supposed to take that. And then right here it says take a, hold on. Oh, for pain relief. Pain relief, etc., and then nothing else. So that is how I think Mr. Rosen would have done it. I hope he's not, how do you call it? What's the expression? Flipping over in his grave, or I don't remember the expression. So, sorry, Mr. Rosen, if I'm killing your method. But this is how I would have done it. This is like my style, my method of note taking right here. And if you can see, it's like from this date until the date of the surgery, and then whenever a list is coming on, whenever I sense or I detect that there's a list, what I actually do is I write the things down. And I write the things down, and since I know he's not supposed to take any of that, I just write a line through all of them. And then right here we can see that for pain relief, and what does that say? For pain relief, ACET, which is acetaminophen, and nothing else. So this is my method right here. You see, like it's like really, really vertical, no shift. And I believe this is an example of Mr. Rosen's method, which has the shift. Now, pretty similar, pretty similar. I think that the only difference is that this one is more vertical than this one, and it doesn't have a shift, you know? So I hope that makes it a little bit clear. Um, well, this example should of what the Rosen method means whenever whenever they have to shift it, right? And one thing that I noticed about his examples and like whenever he's shifted is that if a word is mentioned, it makes it easier to actually like draw a line to like the word, right? Like for example here, if we wanted to use this arrow again, we could just write a line like that. But from mine, like if I wanted to like write an example to over here, right? Or hold on. Yeah. For example, look. If I wanted to write an arrow from here, then it's a little cluttered here, right? And that arrow would have to make its way around like much harder in my method than in Mr. Rosen's method. That is one thing that I really noticed. Man, I hate that. Like, that is one thing that I really noticed that his method is better suited for that than mine. But like I'm telling you, I mean, if I were to think of shifting my notes, then I would have, I like most of the time would go into actually consciously thinking about shifting the notes that I would have no time for note taking or no brain power for actually listening and note taking. So, I mean, I understand and I see like it makes sense, and a lot of things that I use in my notes have been borrowed from the Rosen method, like I mentioned, because I was exposed to this like at an early stage or at a very early stage before I was even a professional interpreter. I was able to get my hands on the book and I was able to read it, and I just gathered everything that worked for me, and I just completely forgot about everything else, to be honest. So that is um, the shift for the Rosen method. And another thing that I want to talk about that I didn't do a very good job explaining it on Tuesday is the link words. The link words. Now, for example, a good example of a link word could be like the equal sign, you know? Just like that. That's it. And I know I mentioned this, but I don't think I did a good example. And for example, a link word is a word that you can use all the time to mean many things. For example, this equal sign could mean equal to, identical, or to the same. So anytime you get those link words or link phrases like equal to, identical, the same, then you have a perfect symbol or a link word. Well, this is a link symbol in this case, but you could use like a little word, and I'm gonna owe you that word because I couldn't really think of any, and the examples they gave are words that like I don't think I've ever had to use a link word like that other than like the equal sign. Another thing that could actually work as a link symbol is just a regular old plus sign to indicate in addition plus as well, and that is going to save your life. I do notice that I do use maybe not link words, but link symbols. I do have a lot of link symbols that actually mean things like that, and I can actually get my notes quickly. I'm pretty sure that on tomorrow's session, which I'm gonna be showing an examples of my notes, how I do them vertically now, because when I was using this LCD board, I was actually doing them like that. And I've explained in the video why I was doing that, and I noticed why I was doing that. So tomorrow I want to give you guys a little nice example of my vertical note taking with some of the examples from our practice sessions, right? So yeah, guys, I hope I was able to clear some of the doubts that I left you with in the other video, right? Because I didn't do a good job explaining it at all. So yeah, I hope this can actually bring some insight and it can help some of you. And let me know if any of you guys actually use this, because it just seems so hard to me. But of course, we all process things differently, and there's not a wrong way or right way to take notes as long as you interpret everything. So that is going to be pretty much it for me today, guys. Please leave your questions in the comments and I will answer some of them on the next session. Remember that I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and if you like the video and have not done so, for more content. And don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.